Good morning, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. My name is Marianne Howard, and today I'm going to be continuing to read to you from the book Ick Yuck Eww, Our Gross American History by Lois Hoey. This book helps us understand daily life in colonial times. Sometimes daily life was downright disgusting, and today we're going to talk about that. Now, if you've missed part one of this program, you can scroll back up to my video from April 5th, 2020, and take a look at it when we're done today. So have you ever been to Mulford Farm on James Lane? Built in 1680, it's been left largely unchanged since 1750. And when I talk about some of the things going on in this book today, you can think about the people who were living and farming in East Hampton during the 1700s acting the same way. So chapter 3 of this book deals with the nasty germs. So I want you to stop for a minute and think about what happens when you get sick. And think about some of the modern day processes you go through when you wake up and sense that you aren't feeling good. And if you want to take a minute and type some of the things that you go through in the comment box, you can do so there. So maybe you think that you get your temperature taken, or you drink plenty of orange juice or soup, or you blow your nose or use some tissues, or that you go to the doctor, or you take medicine to make you feel better. When we last left off in this book, we were at the tavern having a meal and sharing a bug-infested bed with complete strangers. So let's see what happens now, okay? After finishing your fly-infested meal, you wander down a city street, and then you stop and stare. People are crossing the street to avoid a house ahead of you. The road by the house is closed by fences at both ends. A flag is raised in front with the word smallpox painted on it. What's going on? A woman carrying a laundry basket stops to explain the strange flag. The family that lives in the house shut themselves inside because they've been inoculated against the pox. To do this, a doctor makes a small slice in the person's arm until blood appears. The doctor then puts pus from another person's smallpox blisters into the cut. Ew! The family knew that they would all still come down with smallpox, but a lighter case of it than they would if they caught the disease in another way. The woman explains that most people survive this procedure, and the family will emerge from the house in a few weeks. You imagine all those sick people with blisters filled with pus on faces, inside their mouths and on the bottom of their feet and the palms of their hands. Once the blisters break, they itch like crazy. Ick! You remember seeing many people on the street with scars on their faces. They must have survived a smallpox infection. You thank the woman and hurry away, as does everyone else who comes by this house. Smallpox is a disease caused by a virus, and it's been completely wiped out since 1980, but it was very common in the world for thousands of years. Passed from person to person, it infected everyone from missionaries to housewives. After the first Europeans arrived in the Americas, bringing the disease with them, smallpox devastated Native American populations. But Europeans and African slaves were vulnerable to the disease as well. In one American outbreak from 1775 to 1782, 100,000 people died. Many more suffered from blindness and ugly scars. The introduction of inoculation led many wealthy and middle-class Americans to try it rather than take a chance on catching the disease otherwise. And once they had been through it, they were immune for life. Yep, Maria, that's gross. Okay, so now let's think about going to the dentist. What are some modern day processes you think of when you first take care of your teeth at home and then when you head to the dentist? And maybe if you want to type some of your answers in the comment box there too. So maybe you think to yourself that you brush your teeth with a toothbrush, or you rinse with mouthwash, or floss your teeth. Or maybe that you just visit a dentist who's completed medical training, or you get regular preventative cleanings which prevent major catastrophes in your mouth, or maybe you visit an orthodontist for teeth straightening, or maybe that you get some teeth pulled or you have a cavity filled while you're being given Novocaine, which is a local anesthetic. And that means that that's medication that's being used to numb a specific part of your body, in this case, your gums. So when you have a minor procedure done on your mouth, you want to have this area numb so that your brain doesn't register that you're in pain. Why? You're going to see in a minute. So you know what I'm about to tell you. In colonial times, these preventative measures and even regular checkups weren't held in the same way. So ahead of you in the street, you see a sign for a barber, and large screens come from inside. Does somebody need help? You stop in the doorway and your stomach heaves at the scene in front of you. A man is lying back in a chair, his arms and legs flailing about while the barber pulls a tooth from his wide open mouth. He obviously had nothing to kill the pain before the barber began. Blood spurts out all over the patient and the barber. Yuck! Who knew barbers were also dentists? People don't take good care of their teeth. If they clean their teeth at all, they do so with a finger or a twig. Bristle brushes are available, but they're expensive. Plus, bristles often break off or stick in the gums, causing more infection. Most people go through life with sunken cheeks, gaps from missing teeth, or frequent pain from cavities. Ouch! Because of their skills with sharp instruments, barbers in early America sometimes performed operations. They removed arms, fingers, and other body parts when absolutely necessary, all without painkillers for their patients, except maybe alcohol. Ouch! Okay, so now the next chapter in the book deals with uncomfortable clothes. So I want you to think for a minute about how you get dressed. You have one pair of clothes for regular school activities, maybe a uniform, and then another pair of clothes for your sports activities, maybe a uniform for that. You have another pair of clothes that you sleep in and towels and washcloths for your showers. You have a dress or a suit and tie for fancier events, or maybe different skirts, blouses, trousers, and sweaters for occasions in between the everyday and the fancy. You have plenty of underwear and dry socks for the times in between, plus bathrobes, slippers, sneakers, loafers, boots, and other sets of shoes. And again, you know what I'm about to tell you, it wasn't like that in colonial times. So say it's a warm day in June and you've been working up quite a sweat with all the walking you've been doing. Thank goodness you don't have to wear much more than your jeans and t-shirt. But that's not the case for anyone else you've seen. People in the 1700s dress in layers of clothing year-round, and they don't just jump out of bed in the morning and quickly throw on their clothes. Oh no, getting dressed is a time-consuming task. Males and females do not dress alike. Both wear plenty of uncomfortable garments, though. The one thing they all have in common is that no one wears underpants. Yuck! Underpants don't become a regular part of the wardrobe until about 1850. Girls and women wear a long, loose undergarment called a shift next to their skin. Scoop-necked and short-sleeved, a shift hangs from the shoulder to above the ankles. It's worn all day and all night, again and again. Remember, people don't bathe regularly, so even a clean shift goes over a smelly body. Ick! Over the shift comes a corset, which is also called a stays. A corset consists of fabric lined with long pockets. Strips of bone are shoved down into the pockets to stiffen the fabric and help the wearer's posture. The corset is laced in front. Corsets aren't used to hide fat, but to force people to stand erect. Good posture is considered essential to good looks. And corsets aren't just for grown women either. Little girls, boys, and some men are laced up too, also to encourage good posture. The rest of the clothing covers the corset. Layers of petticoats or one layer of a frame of hoops fastened together with tape worn to spread out a woman's dress. Then comes the dress, usually called a gown. Finally, a neckerchief, an apron, a cap, and for wealthier women, shoes with low heels. Poor people go barefoot most of the time. And shoes aren't made for left and right feet. Wearing the same shape on each foot is uncomfortable and awkward, to say the least. And the same is true of boots worn by men and women outside the house. Sores and blisters are common. Ouch! Boys and men also wear many layers. First comes a shirt, worn day and night. The shirt sometimes has ruffles down the front and at the end of sleeves. Its long tails are often crossed between legs, remember, no underpants, and tucked into breeches. Lucky for men, these pants stop at the knees. Knee pants allow more freedom than women's skirts do. The shirt collar is closed with a neckcloth called a stock. A man folds it several times, wraps it around his neck, and ties a bow in front. He buttons a vest over the top of the shirt and then adds a coat. Stockings must be tied above the knee, but they're always coming loose and wrinkling. Men and boys often need to fix them. Sigh, that's a lot of clothing to wear in the middle of the summer. In early America, only men wore buttons on their clothing. Women pinned their clothes together to fit their bodies. That way, they could continue to wear the same gowns even if they became pregnant or gained weight. But this added another step to getting dressed each day. So now that we've talked about what we're wearing, what about doing the laundry? What modern day processes do you think of when you're doing the laundry? How about using a washing machine and a dryer, or going to the laundromat, or using detergent or a fabric softener, or hanging clothes on the line in the spring and summer, putting dirty clothes in a hamper, or maybe paying someone else to clean your clothes, perhaps a maid, or maybe bringing in dry cleaning. But remember, we don't have any of that 300 years ago. Oh, thanks, Barbara. Yep, really interesting, right? So you stop by a house and you watch the family doing laundry outdoors. Young boys haul buckets of water to tubs set out in the yard. One of them sees you and ambles over to say hello. The boy flexes his muscle and says he has to haul about 100 gallons of water each time laundry is done. Wow, that is at least 2 bathtubs full of water. He explains that Ma makes her own soap. First, she pours water into a barrel with fireplace ashes and lime. Lime is a white powder gotten by burning limestone, a common stone in America. It's used in laundry, in mortar and cement, and to sweeten the smells coming from privies, which we spoke about last time we were talking about this book. So this all makes lye, and lye is a harsh chemical that can eat away at a person's skin. Ew! Then Ma mixes the lye with animal fat and a little more lime powder. She boils it until a soft soap is left, and that's a lot of work, and we haven't even started doing the laundry yet. The boy adds that Ma washes only shifts, shirts, poopy diapers, bed sheets, and stockings. Outer clothing such as coats, breeches, vests, and gowns are almost never washed. Diapers that contain pee but no poop are not washed but just hung to dry and then reused. Gross! You watch Ma and the girls scrub and rub the clothes with soap and sometimes stale urine. The ammonia in urine helps cloth to stay white. After they rinse the clothes, they lift the wet, heavy pieces into water boiling in a large brass pot over an outdoor fire. They stir the clothes with a stick. Then they lift out the clothes, scrub them some more, rinse them, and wring out the water. The clothes are smoothed out by hand and hung out to dry, usually on the grass or bushes. In winter or in rainy weather, the wet clothes go inside on a line near the fireplace or in the attic. Water spills on the floor and freezes, making walking dangerous. Clothes dry slowly inside, if at all. So now before we wrap up the book, I want you to maybe think about some ways that germs are good. We've spent a lot of time talking about how unsanitary colonial times were, but are there any instances when germs can help us? For example, there's good bacteria that live in your intestines that help make the best use of nutrients in the food you eat. They also help what's turned leftovers into waste. And without good bacteria, your body couldn't efficiently process the food that you eat. And scientists also use bacteria to make some medicines and different vaccines. So surprisingly, our smelly, dirty past may have actually helped prevent some diseases. Dr. Joel Weinstock from Tufts University in Massachusetts said, if we all moved into a completely sterile or germ-free environment, we would die. Doctors have noticed that certain conditions, including asthma and allergies, have increased as our surroundings have become less dirty. Better hygiene, cleaner water, and refrigeration mean fewer germs and fewer worms. People in the past routinely consumed worms or their eggs along with their water and food, or they picked up worms from the soil. Scientists have recently conducted a number of experiments in which people are swallowing pig whipworm eggs. The eggs travel to the intestines and larvae hatch from them. The larvae are harmless to humans, and the larvae leave the intestines before they develop into worms. But while the larvae are in the body, they appear to affect the human immune system. These changes to the immune system may help reduce the occurrence of diseases that attack us from the inside, called autoimmune diseases. So now, do you think you could have tolerated going through all of this day after day? You decide to get back home before someone tries to put colonial clothes on you. You hop back into your time machine and you arrive home relieved at returning to the good old 21st century. You've learned a lot about the past, and you begin to wonder how people in the future will view this time period. What will they think is yucky? So, thank you again for tuning in. If you're interested in this book or any of the other ones that we've been reading to you, please email us at programs@easthamptonhistory.org, and we can let you know where you can find your own copy. And stay tuned to our Facebook and Instagram pages for more information about the programs that we have going on at this time. And I'll see you soon, East Hampton. Thanks again for tuning in.